Drop away from your ears. Unclench your jaw and let your hands rest loosely, fingers uncurled, like leaves resting on the forest floor. Welcome. I'm so glad you've chosen to give yourself this gift of time. Let's begin by bringing our awareness to the breath. Don't try to change it or control it. Just notice it. This breath is your anchor, a constant, steady rhythm that you can always return to. Simply acknowledge the thought, whatever it may be, and then gently guide your attention back to your breath. Imagine your thoughts are like clouds drifting across a vast blue sky. You can see them, you can acknowledge their shape and their presence, but you don't have to get carried away by them. The sky, which is your awareness, remains clear and vast, no matter how many clouds pass through. Let's do a gentle scan of the body, bringing a soft, kind awareness to each part. See if you can invite a sense of softness and release here. With each exhale, imagine that tension dissolving, flowing out of your body and into the earth below. We already let them drop, but let's check in again. Let them be heavy, soft, and relaxed. Let this feeling of release flow down your arms, through your elbows, your forearms, and into your hands and fingertips. Your hands are at rest, completely at peace. Now, bring your attention to your neck and your throat. Let go of any tightness. Allow your head to feel balanced and supported by your neck and spine. Let your eyes feel soft and rested behind your eyelids. Even your scalp can relax. For the final minute, let's just sit in this state of peaceful awareness. Return to it anytime you need, simply by pausing and connecting with your breath. As we prepare to end this session, slowly begin to bring some gentle movement back to your body. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. Perhaps gently roll your shoulders or stretch in any way that feels good to you. Find a comfortable position, either sitting or lying down, whatever feels best for you right now. Gently close your eyes or lower your gaze, and let's begin this journey together. I want you to imagine a gentle, warm light washing over you. It is not the harsh light of the noon sun, but the golden, honey-like glow of the late afternoon. Next breath in. Feel this light slowly begin to seep down through the top of your head, like warm honey trickling downwards. It fills your mind, quieting the busy thoughts, soothing any worries. Feel your forehead smooth out, the tiny muscles around your eyes relax, your jaw unclench. This golden light is a wave of pure peace, washing away the clutter of the day. Allow this warmth to continue its journey downward, flowing into your neck and shoulders. Imagine it melting away any knots or stiffness you might be holding there. The weight you've been carrying on your shoulders feels lighter, softer, as this golden glow saturates every muscle, every fiber. Breathe in and guide the light further down your arms, all the way to your fingertips. Finally, the light reaches your feet. It pools in your ankles, flows over the tops of your feet, and fills the soles. Imagine it seeping into every single toe, bringing a gentle, tingling warmth. Your entire body, from the very top of your head to the tips of your toes, is now completely filled with this soft, golden light. You are glowing from the inside out. The air here is cool and fresh, carrying the clean, crisp scent of pine needles and warm, dry earth. You can feel that warmth seeping up through the soles of your feet, a comforting sensation that begins to spread. The soothing warmth glides down your arms, through your elbows, into your forearms, and all the way to your fingertips. Your hands feel soft and at ease. Now, bring your awareness to your neck and your jaw. Allow your jaw to hang loosely. Let go of any clenching. Breathe in, and now, breathe out. You are safe here, in this space, in this moment. You are a traveler through time, a silent observer, gently stepping through the corridors of history. The outside world, with all its noise and demands, fades away. It cannot reach you here. You are protected by the soft, unbreakable veil of the past. There is no rush. There is nowhere else you need to be. No deadlines to meet, no expectations to fulfill. Just a gentle, rhythmic beating of your own heart. A steady drum in the quiet expanse of what was. Let go of the feeling that you should be somewhere else, doing something else. Here, you are simply meant to be. The past is a quiet place. Imagine it as a grand, ancient library. Its shelves reaching up into a soft, hazy twilight. Each book is a memory, bound in leather and time, its pages filled with stories waiting to be read. The air is still and smells of old paper, dried herbs, and the faint, sweet scent of beeswax from candles flickering in the distance. Your journey begins at the entrance to this library of memories. The great wooden doors close silently behind you, shutting out the hurried pace of the present. A soft, warm light welcomes you, emanating from countless candles placed in alcoves along the walls. As you begin to walk, your footsteps make no sound on the cool stone floor. You are a ghost, a whisper, moving through this sanctuary of time. The silence here is not empty, it's full. It's filled with the echoes of laughter, the murmurs of forgotten conversations, the rustle of turning pages from centuries ago. It's a silence that holds everything, a comforting weight that settles upon your shoulders, easing their tension. You drift deeper into this vast repository of moments. The air grows cooler, more still. You pass by endless rows of books, their spines bearing titles and languages, both familiar and long lost. You don't need to read them to feel their contents. The knowledge, the emotions, the lives lived, they emanate from the shelves like a gentle warmth, a low hum that resonates within your very soul. You are not here to study or to analyze. You are here simply to feel, to absorb the peace of this timeless place. Your mind, which may have been racing with thoughts and worries, begins to slow. Each thought becomes like a single, falling leaf, drifting gently to the ground before settling into the quiet earth of your consciousness. There is no need to catch them, no need to examine them. Just let them fall. As you walk further, the library seems to expand around you. The rows of books become like a forest of ancient trees, their branches laden with the fruits of history. The candlelight guides you along a winding path, deeper and deeper into the heart of this tranquil wood. You feel a sense of profound peace, a connection to all the lives that have come before, all the stories that have been woven into the tapestry of existence. You notice the details, the intricate carvings on the end of a shelf depicting a mythical creature sleeping, the way the dust motes dance in a single beam of light filtering through a high, arched window, the subtle variations in the colors of the book bindings, deep crimsons, forest greens, ocean blues, and earthy browns. Each detail is a small anchor, grounding you further in this peaceful, present moment. Imagine reaching out a hand, not to take a book, but simply to feel the texture of its cover. The worn leather is smooth and cool beneath your fingertips. You can almost feel the presence of the hands that held it before, the eyes that scanned its pages, the minds that were transported by its words. You are part of a long, unbroken chain of existence, a single, precious link. Now, the path begins to change. The floor transitions from stone to soft moss, and the air carries the scent of damp earth and night-blooming flowers. The library is transforming. The shelves of books begin to thin, replaced by slender, silver-barked trees that seem to glow with their own inner light. You have walked from the library of memories into the garden of dreams. The trees part before you, their branches like gentle arms opening to reveal what lies ahead. You step out from the shelter of the forest and find yourself on a wide, marble balcony. It's vast and cool underfoot, its polished surface reflecting the starlight from a clear, endless night sky. The air is fresh and clean, carrying a gentle, soothing breeze that caresses your face and whispers through your hair. You walk to the balustrade, its marble smooth and solid beneath your hands. You look out. Before you lies a vast, sleeping landscape. Valleys are filled with a soft, silvery mist that glows under the light of a full moon. Distant mountains rise like slumbering giants, their peaks dusted with starlight. The world is at rest. The entire landscape is breathing, slowly and deeply, in time with you. There are no signs of the modern world. No city lights, no noise of traffic, just the profound, deep silence of nature at peace. A lone owl calls in the distance, its voice a soft, melodic note that doesn't break the silence but becomes a part of it. The sound is a reminder that even in stillness, there is life, gentle and serene. You are high above it all, a silent guardian watching over a world that has fallen into a deep, restorative sleep. The worries and complexities of your own life seem so small from this vantage point, like tiny pebbles in a vast, calm ocean. Stay here on this balcony for as long as you wish. There is no one to hurry you along. Feel the cool breeze on your skin, listen to the deep silence, and watch the slow, gentle dance of the mist in the valleys below. This is your sanctuary, a place of perfect peace, of absolute safety. You are a traveler through time, resting for a moment on a marble balcony at the edge of history, overlooking a world of perfect tranquility. Breathe in the calm. Breathe out any remaining tension. Know that this place is always here for you. You are safe, you are at rest, and all is well. Imagine you are a queen, born to rule, draped in silks and jewels, your every word a command. Now, picture yourself in chains, not just any chains, but golden ones, heavy and cold against your skin. This isn't a nightmare. This is Rome, and this is your triumph. The Roman triumph wasn't just a victory parade. It was a religious and political spectacle, a living, breathing monument to Roman power. At its heart was the victorious general, the triumphator, riding in a chariot, a temporary god on earth. But before him walked the spoils of war, gold, treasures, exotic animals, and you, the conquered queen. The streets of Rome would be a deafening sea of humanity. People packed onto every rooftop, every balcony, jostling for a glimpse. The air would be thick with the smell of incense, sweat, and roasting meat from the sacrifices. They wouldn't be cheering for you. Their roars are for Rome, for the man in the chariot, for their own glory reflected in your humiliation. Think of Zenobia, the warrior queen of Palmyra. She carved out an empire, challenging Rome itself. In her triumph, they say she was so weighed down by jewels and golden chains that she could barely walk. Or consider Cleopatra. She chose her own end rather than face this walk. She understood the power of the spectacle better than anyone. To be paraded through Rome would have been the final, unbearable erasure of her identity, transforming her from the divine Isis, the lover of Caesar and Antony, into a mere captive. Her suicide was her last act of defiance, her final, masterful control of her own narrative. She denied Rome its ultimate prize. But for those who did walk, what must it have felt like? The stones beneath your feet, worn smooth by generations of sandals and chariot wheels. The endless, anonymous faces staring, judging, celebrating your fall. Each step is a lifetime away from your palace, your throne, your people. It's a surreal, disorienting dream. The noise, the colors, the sheer scale of it all would be overwhelming. You become a symbol, a character in a story, not your own. Your personal tragedy is consumed by the grand, impersonal narrative of empire. History often focuses on the brutality, the grim end that awaited many male captives after the parade. But for the queens, the story is often one of strange afterlives. Some, like Zenobia, were granted villas, living out their days in luxurious exile, their children marrying into the Roman aristocracy. It's a peculiar mercy. Rome breaks you, displays you, and then, sometimes, absorbs you. You become a part of the very fabric of the empire that conquered you. So when we look back at these grand processions, let's look past the victorious general. Let's look to the figures walking in his shadow. In their golden chains, we see not just defeat, but a collision of worlds, the crushing weight of destiny, and the surreal, dreamlike moment when a queen becomes a captive, and a human being becomes a symbol for all of history to see. Imagine, if you will, the scent of burning incense. It is thick and sweet, rising in curling plumes of smoke that mix with the scent of laurel leaves. The streets have been swept clean. The roar of the crowd is muted, like the sound of the ocean heard from behind a thick glass window. You are floating above it, watching the slow river of a procession winding its way toward the temple of Jupiter Optimus Maximus on the Capitoline Hill. This isn't just any parade. This is the Roman triumph, the greatest honor a general could ever hope to achieve. So what exactly was a Roman triumph? It was far more than just a victory lap. It was a civil and religious ceremony that celebrated the complete and utter victory of a Roman general over a foreign enemy. This wasn't something handed out for every successful campaign. The criteria were incredibly strict. The general had to be a magistrate with imperium, meaning the authority to command an army. The war had to be declared and fought against a foreign foe, not a civil war. And crucially, at least 5,000 enemy combatants had to be killed in a single battle. Behind them came elaborate floats depicting scenes from the war, captured treasures, and piles of enemy weapons and armor. Then came the animals destined for sacrifice, their horns gilded, followed by musicians filling the air with the sounds of victory. Then, the man of the hour appeared, the triumphator, the victorious general. He rode in a magnificent four-horse chariot, a quadriga, but he wasn't dressed in his usual military gear. Instead, he was robed in a purple toga embroidered with gold, resembling the very statue of Jupiter in the temple. His face was painted red, mimicking the terracotta image of the god. He held an ivory scepter and a laurel branch. For this one day, he was more than a man. He was almost a god, embodying the divine favor that had granted Rome its victory. Standing in the chariot behind the triumphant general was a slave. This slave had a single, vital job. Amidst the cheering crowds and the adulation, he would hold a golden crown over the general's head and repeatedly whisper in his ear, "Memento mori." This was the Sacred Heart of Rome. Upon reaching the Temple of Jupiter, the general would perform the final rites. celebration not just of his victory, but of the collective power and security of the Roman state. The triumph reinforced the social order, showcased Rome's military might to the world, and gave every citizen a share in the glory. Think of Pompey the Great, who celebrated 3 triumphs over 3 different continents. Or Julius Caesar, whose unprecedented quadruple triumph in 46 BC celebrated his victories in Gaul, Egypt, Pontus, and Africa. These events were so significant they were recorded in the Fasci Triumphals, the official chronicles of triumphs, which were publicly displayed in the Forum. Over time, however, the nature of the triumph changed. With the rise of the Roman Empire and the concentration of power in the hands of one man, the emperor, the traditional triumph became a privilege reserved almost exclusively for the imperial family. A successful general fighting on the frontier might be granted triumphal ornaments, but the full-blown parade through Rome was now the emperor's prerogative, whether he had personally commanded the troops or not. The last known full triumph by a known emperor was for Belisarius in the 6th century AD, and even that was a special case granted by Emperor Justinian. The Roman triumph was more than just a parade. It was a complex ritual, a political statement, a religious ceremony, and a public spectacle all rolled into one. But to its own people, reminding them of the glory and the price of their vast empire. It is a parade of wonders. The air thickens with the roar of the crowd, the clatter of sandals on stone, the metallic clang of legionary armor. A Roman triumph. It is the greatest spectacle the world has ever known. A citywide celebration of victory, conquest, and power. The procession snakes through the streets of Rome, a living, breathing testament to the empire's might. But our focus drifts past the soldiers, their sun-bronzed faces set like stone, marching in perfect unison. We drift past the chariots, their wheels churning dust, their gilded frames catching the Italian sun. We drift past the spoils of war piled high on wooden carts, glittering treasures, foreign idols, and exotic animals that have never before seen these streets. We drift toward the center of the spectacle, past the senators in their white togas, past the musicians whose horns and drums are drowned out by the cheering masses. We look for the queens. History tells us of many who have walked this sorrowful path. We remember Arsinoe of Egypt, sister to Cleopatra, paraded in chains, her defiance a silent scream against the might of Caesar. We remember the weeping princesses of Dacia, their golden hair a stark contrast to their despair as they followed their defeated father, King Decebalus. They are the jewels in Rome's crown of victory, their humiliation a public display of the price of resistance. But tonight, let your mind settle on the most majestic figure of them all, a woman whose name would echo through the ages, a queen who dared to build an empire of her own, a warrior who challenged Rome itself. We are in the year 274 AD, and the Emperor Aurelian is celebrating his triumph over the breakaway Palmyrene Empire. And there, at the heart of the procession, is its queen, Zenobia. Imagine her, not broken, not weeping. She is bound, yes, but in chains of purest gold. Her jewels are so heavy, they say, that she nearly faints under their weight, but her head is held high. Her gaze does not fall to the dusty road, but sweeps across the Roman populace, a silent challenge in her eyes. This is not just a defeated monarch. This is a legend in the making. She had carved out an empire stretching from Egypt to Anatolia, controlling the vital trade routes to the east. She was a scholar, a patron of the arts, fluent in multiple languages, and a military strategist who rode into battle with her men. The Romans watching might have seen a foreign queen, a barbarian brought to heel, but we, looking back through the mists of time, see something else. We see a force of nature. Zenobia was not just a queen of Palmyra. She was a contender for the world. Her capture wasn't just a victory for Aurelian. It was a sigh of relief for an empire that had been shaken to its core. Unlike so many others who were paraded and then unceremoniously executed, Zenobia's story takes a different turn. Aurelian, perhaps impressed by her dignity or recognizing her political value, spared her life. He granted her a villa in Tivoli, where she lived out her days as a Roman philosopher and socialite. Her daughters married into the Roman aristocracy. The warrior queen of the East became a respected matron of the West. So as the parade fades and the echoes of the crowd die down, the image of Zenobia remains, a queen in golden chains, a symbol of defiance, intelligence, and incredible resilience. Her story reminds us that even in defeat, a legacy can be forged. It wasn't just the end of her reign, it was the beginning of her legend, a legend that has captivated historians, writers, and dreamers for centuries. The story of Zenobia, the last great queen of the ancient world. Picture this, the vast, golden sands of the Syrian desert. Under a pale, endless sky, the wind whispers secrets of ancient trade routes, of silk and spice, of empires rising and falling like the dunes themselves. It was in this breathtaking landscape, in the oasis city of Palmyra, that a legend was born. Her name was Zenobia. Born around 240 AD, Zenobia was no ordinary woman. She was said to be a descendant of Cleopatra, and she certainly possessed a similar blend of intelligence, ambition, and charisma. She was highly educated, fluent in several languages, including Palmyrene, Aramaic, Greek, and Egyptian. She was also a skilled hunter and horsewoman, as comfortable in the saddle as she was in the palace. She married Odenathus, the ruler of Palmyra, which was then a client state of the Roman Empire. Together, they were a formidable power couple. The mid-3rd century was a chaotic time for Rome. The empire was in crisis, facing internal strife and external threats, particularly from the Sasanian Empire in the east. Odenathus, with Zenobia by his side, proved to be a crucial ally for Rome. He successfully pushed back the Sasanians, even capturing their emperor, Shapur I, for his loyalty and military prowess. Rome granted him the title corrector of the whole East. Palmyra's influence soared, and it became the de facto guardian of Rome's eastern frontier. But this period of shared glory was about to come to a dramatic end. In 267 AD, both Odenathus and his eldest son were assassinated, likely the result of a political conspiracy. In this moment of crisis and uncertainty, Zenobia seized power. She didn't just step in as a temporary regent for her young son, Odenathus. She declared herself Queen of Palmyra. With incredible speed and strategic genius, Zenobia began to expand her territory. She wasn't content with just controlling Palmyra. She saw the weakness in Rome and the opportunity it presented. Her armies, led by the brilliant General Zebulus, marched into Roman Egypt and conquered it, cutting off Rome's vital grain supply. Next, she took control of Anatolia, modern-day Turkey. In just a few years, she had carved out a massive empire stretching from Egypt to Anatolia, an empire that rivaled Rome itself in size and power. She styled herself as an empress, minting coins with her own image on one side and her son's on the other. Initially showing respect to the Roman Emperor Aurelian, but soon dropping his image entirely. This was a direct challenge to Roman authority. She was effectively declaring the Palmyrene Empire an independent and equal power. Her court in Palmyra became a center of learning and culture, attracting scholars and philosophers from across the known world. She was building not just a military empire, but a cultural one as well. But the Roman Empire, though weakened, was not broken. A new emperor, Aurelian, a tough and determined military man, ascended to the throne. He was not about to let the wealthy eastern provinces slip away. After securing the western frontiers, he turned his full attention to Zenobia. The clash of these two powerful figures was inevitable. In 272 AD, Aurelian marched east. His disciplined Roman legions met Zenobia's forces in a series of decisive battles. Despite fierce resistance, the Palmyran army was ultimately defeated. Aurelian advanced on Palmyra itself. The magnificent city, once the jewel of the desert, was besieged. Zenobia, seeing that all was lost, attempted a desperate escape on a camel, hoping to reach the Sasanian Empire and rally support. But she was captured by Roman horsemen before she could cross the Euphrates River. Her reign was over. The city of Palmyra, after a brief second rebellion, was sacked and destroyed by the Romans, its riches plundered. The magnificent oasis that had blossomed into an empire was reduced to ruins. And what of Zenobia? Her ultimate fate is a subject of historical debate. Some accounts say she died from illness or starvation on the journey to Rome. The most famous story, however, is that she was brought to Rome and paraded through the streets in golden chains during Aurelian's triumphal procession, a symbol of a conquered queen. But even in this version of the story, her spirit wasn't entirely broken. Instead of being executed, she was supposedly given a villa in Tivoli, where she lived out her days in comfortable exile, her children marrying into the Roman aristocracy. Whether she died in chains or lived out her life as a Roman noblewoman, Zenobia's story is one of incredible ambition, intelligence, and courage. For a brief, brilliant moment, this queen from the desert defied the most powerful empire in the world and almost succeeded in creating her own. She remains a powerful symbol of a ruler who dared to challenge the established order. A testament to the fact that even in the vast desert, an oasis of ambition can bloom and change the course of history. And hit that notification bell for more stories from history. Fluent in multiple languages, a brilliant scholar, and a master strategist, she was the intellectual equal of any man in her court. But Zenobia wasn't content with just ruling Palmyra. She saw a fractured Roman Empire and dreamed of something greater, a new Eastern Empire. With Palmyra as its capital, her ambition was audacious, almost unthinkable. She launched a series of stunning military campaigns, her armies sweeping through Roman territories. Egypt, a land of ancient power and Rome's breadbasket, fell to her. So did much of Anatolia, modern-day Turkey. In a few short years, Zenobia had carved out an empire that stretched from the Nile to the Bosphorus. She was at the peak of her power, minting coins with her own image, a direct challenge to the Roman emperor. She shared the hardships of her troops, marching for miles under the desert sun. She was more than just their queen. She was their commander, their inspiration. Her soldiers adored her, willing to follow her into the heart of battle against the most powerful military machine the world had ever known. But Rome, even in turmoil, does not suffer rivals. A new emperor, Aurelian, a hardened general, came to power. He was determined to reunite the empire and crush the upstart queen. Aurelian marched east, and the clash of titans was inevitable. The Palmyrene and Roman armies met in a series of brutal battles. Despite their courage, Zenobia's forces were pushed back. The dream began to crumble. Finally, the Romans laid siege to Palmyra itself. The magnificent city, once a symbol of Zenobia's power, was now her prison. But even then, she did not surrender. What happened next is shrouded in legend. The most famous story tells of Zenobia being paraded through the streets of Rome in Aurelian's triumph, bound not by iron chains, but by chains of solid gold, a testament to her former status. Her story reminds us that even when facing impossible odds, the courage to dream and the will to fight can change the course of history. Imagine that image. Not iron, not steel, but soft, heavy, malleable gold. A golden chain around her neck, golden shackles upon her wrists. The metal is warm against her skin, heated by the Roman sun. The links are thick, crafted by master jewelers. They catch the light, sending fractured beams of yellow and white dancing across the faces of the crowd. This isn't just a prisoner. This is a spectacle. This is the scene that greeted Rome in 26 BC as the legendary Queen of Egypt, Cleopatra, was paraded through the streets in what was meant to be her ultimate humiliation, the triumph of Octavian. But Cleopatra, even in defeat, was no ordinary captive. The golden chains were a deliberate choice, a calculated move in a game she was about to lose. Why gold? Because iron was for common criminals, for barbarian kings. Gold was for royalty. In binding her with the most precious metal, Octavian was inadvertently acknowledging her status. He was showing the people of Rome not just a defeated enemy, but a queen. A queen so powerful, so wealthy, that even her restraints had to be made of gold. It was a paradox, a symbol of her captivity that simultaneously screamed of her immense power and wealth. The very chains, meant to signify her fall from grace, became a testament to the heights from which she fell. This wasn't just a parade. It was the highest honor a Roman general could receive. It was a religious and civic ceremony that celebrated a decisive military victory. Imagine the scene. The city of Rome is shut down. Crowds line the streets, cheering, throwing flowers. The procession is led by magistrates and senators, followed by trumpeters heralding the arrival of the victor. Then comes the spoils of war. Exotic animals from conquered lands, wagon loads of treasure, art, weapons, and of course, the most important captives. These weren't just soldiers. They were kings, queens, and generals, forced to walk before their conqueror's chariot as living proof of Rome's might. At the heart of the procession was the triumphant general himself, Octavian, riding in a four-horse chariot. He would be dressed like a god, his face painted red to emulate Jupiter, the king of the Roman pantheon. He held an ivory scepter and a laurel branch, symbols of victory. Behind him, a slave would hold a golden crown over his head, all the while whispering in his ear, "Memento mori, remember, you are mortal." It was a reminder that even at the peak of his glory, he was still just a man. And in this grand, theatrical display, Cleopatra was meant to be the star attraction. The woman who had captivated two of Rome's most powerful men, Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. The queen of a kingdom whose wealth was the stuff of legend. Her capture was the final act in a long and bloody civil war. Parading her through Rome was Octavian's way of closing the book on an era and declaring the dawn of his own. But Cleopatra denied him his ultimate prize. According to the histories, she took her own life before she could be subjected to the triumph. The stories say she used an asp, a venomous snake, smuggled to her in a basket of figs. It was a death fit for a queen, a final act of defiance. She chose her own end rather than become a pawn in Octavian's political theater. So, The woman in the golden chains we imagine walking through Rome is a ghost. Or what if Octavian had to settle for parading an effigy of her? A statue, perhaps with the asp clinging to its arm, to show the crowd what they had missed. The story of Cleopatra's golden chains, real or imagined, perfectly captures her essence. She understood power, symbolism, and presentation. Even in her darkest hour, she controlled her own narrative. The golden chains weren't just restraints, they were a statement. They spoke of a wealth that Rome coveted, a status that Rome had to acknowledge, and a defiance that Rome could never truly break. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the symbols of our defeat can also be the monuments to our strength. The image endures not as one of humiliation, but as one of unbreakable regality. A queen, bound not by iron, but by the very substance of her legend, pure gold. Let me know in the comments what other historical mysteries you'd like to unravel. See you next time. Have you ever heard of a sound that signifies both immense wealth and inescapable doom? Imagine this scene, set in a time long past. A woman walks, but not with the light step of freedom. Her pace is slow, deliberate, forced. She has to walk this way. Why? Because she is draped, almost buried, in gold. Not the delicate jewelry you might imagine, but heavy, burdensome chains of pure, solid gold. The weight is so immense that she can't bear it alone. Slaves, their faces etched with a mixture of awe and pity, walk beside her. Their sole purpose is to hold up the cascading links, to support the crushing weight of the chains, preventing her from collapsing under the sheer opulence. Each step she takes creates a sound, a strange, hypnotic rhythm that echoes through the silent, watching crowds. It's the sound of gold, striking gold. But it isn't the sharp, bright clink you might expect. No, this sound is different. It's a dull, deep, rich thud. A sound that speaks of incredible value, of a fortune so vast it's almost obscene. It's a sound that doesn't celebrate wealth, but rather announces its oppressive power. This isn't just the sound of money, it's the sound of a finalized fate. Every heavy thud is a hammer blow, sealing her destiny. But who is this woman? Is she a queen being punished? A sacrifice being led to an altar? A prisoner of her own immense fortune? Let's peel back the layers of this story. This woman is no ordinary captive. She is, in fact, the living embodiment of a kingdom's entire treasury. Her story begins in a forgotten empire, a civilization that measured its power not in armies or territories, but in the sheer volume of gold it possessed. They believed gold was a gift from the gods, a divine substance that held the very essence of life and power. For generations, they mined and hoarded it, crafting it into everything from sacred idols to everyday utensils. The king, in a display of ultimate power, decided to create a living monument to his wealth. He chose his own daughter. From a young age, she was adorned with gold. It started with small bracelets, then heavier necklaces, and eventually, the massive chains we see her in now. She wasn't just wearing jewelry. She was wearing the kingdom's identity. The people didn't see a princess. They saw their prosperity, their security, their divine favor, all made manifest in human form. The dull thud of her golden chains became the heartbeat of the nation. It was a sound that reassured them, a constant reminder of their strength. She was revered, worshipped even, but never truly seen. She was an icon, a symbol, not a person. But what is the cost of being a living treasure? She could never run, never dance, never feel the simple freedom of an unburdened step. Her world was confined to the length of her golden chains. The slaves who helped her walk were her constant companions, yet they were also her jailers, enforcing the limits of her gilded cage. The hypnotic rhythm of the gold was the soundtrack to her imprisonment. While others heard a sound of immense value, she heard only the clanking of her shackles. The sound of finalized fate wasn't just a metaphor, it was her daily reality. Every sunrise brought with it the same heavy burden, the same slow, agonizing walk. Then, one day, a rival empire, driven by envy and greed, laid siege to the city. They didn't want the land, they wanted the gold. After a long and brutal war, the city fell. The victorious king, seeking to humiliate his defeated foe, devised a cruel and symbolic punishment. He would not melt down the gold or put it in his own treasury. Instead, he would parade the source of their pride through the streets of his own capital. He forced the princess, the living treasure, to walk from her fallen kingdom to his. This journey, hundreds of miles long, was her final act. And so, we return to our opening scene. The woman walking slowly, burdened by the gold. The sound is no longer a symbol of her kingdom's power, but a testament to its fall. It's the sound of captured wealth, of a defeated people. The rich thud of gold on gold is now a funeral for the onlookers in the victorious city. It's a spectacle of triumph. For her, each step is a painful memory, each thud a reminder of everything she has lost. Her fate was sealed the moment she was born into that golden prison, and this final, agonizing walk is its conclusion. A story of immense wealth, leading not to happiness, but to the most profound and public form of suffering. Her legacy is not one of a princess or a queen, but of the woman who is crushed by the weight of a nation's greed. She does not weep. She looks straight ahead, her dark eyes reflecting the gleaming marble temples of Rome. She is a queen still, even in captivity. For Cleopatra, the final queen of Egypt, this is the ultimate humiliation. The Roman triumph, a grand parade celebrating military victory, is a spectacle of power. And today, she is its centerpiece. Imagine the scene. The streets of Rome are packed. Citizens jostle for a better view, their cheers echoing off the stone buildings. First come the senators and magistrates, then the trumpeters announcing the main event. Wagons roll by, laden with treasures from her conquered homeland. Gold, silver, exotic artifacts, and vibrant paintings depicting battles on the Nile. The wealth of Egypt, a kingdom that had stood for millennia, is now just loot for a Roman holiday. Then, the prisoners, kings, princes, and generals from distant lands, shackled and paraded for the mob. But the crowd waits for one person. They want to see the serpent of the Nile, the woman who seduced two of Rome's greatest generals, Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. They expect to see a broken woman, a trophy of war, but that's not what they get. When she appears, a hush falls over the crowd. She is not in chains. That was a calculated decision by Octavian, the future Emperor Augustus. The punishment here is not physical pain, but the psychological torture of display. She walks with her children by her side, a living statue, a moving monument to Rome's reach and her own devastating loss. Her gaze is unbroken, her posture regal. She wears the finest Egyptian linen, a stark contrast to the Roman togas surrounding her. She's not just a captive, she's a defiant symbol of her culture, her heritage, her kingdom. For Cleopatra, every step is an act of defiance. Her silence is louder than any scream. She knows her image will be etched into history, and she refuses to give her enemies the satisfaction of seeing her defeated. Her dignity is her final weapon. She's controlling the narrative even in her darkest hour. She isn't just a prisoner, she's a performance artist on the grandest stage in the world, playing the most difficult role of her life. This walk through Rome is often overshadowed by the more dramatic tale of her suicide. But this public shaming is arguably a more profound part of her story. It shows us the woman behind the myth, not just the seductress or the politician, but a mother trying to protect her children. A queen trying to preserve her honor in the face of total annihilation. She forced the Roman public to look at her, not as a monster, but as a monarch. In this procession, Cleopatra proves that you can cage a person, but you can't extinguish their spirit. She walks through the heart of her enemy's empire, not as a vanquished foe, but as the last pharaoh of Egypt, eternal and unbowed. Her story reminds us that true power isn't always about winning battles. Sometimes, it's about how you face defeat. And hit that notification bell for more stories that bring the past to life. You watch her pass by, floating in your safe, detached observation. You feel the heaviness of that gold. You feel the exhaustion in her muscles, a tiredness that invites sleep. The slow trudge of the procession is lulling you. The wheels of the chariots creak rhythmically. You are an observer, a ghost in the crowd, watching a story unfold that you are not a part of. The sunlight glints off the polished bronze of the soldier's armor, a dazzling, almost blinding spectacle. Dust kicked up by thousands of sandals hangs in the air, a golden haze that softens the edges of the world. You can taste it on your tongue, gritty and dry. The taste of the road, the taste of a long journey's end. The crowd around you is a living thing, a single organism breathing in unison. It sighs, it cheers, it gasps. Their emotions wash over you, but you remain untouched, a rock in a surging river. You hear snippets of conversation, a mother shushing her child, a man making a coarse joke, two friends whispering theories about the woman on the chariot. They are all part of this moment, woven into its fabric. You, however, are just watching the tapestry being made. Your mind drifts from the scene, back to your own life, your own quiet room, far from this noise and grandeur. You think of the book lying open on your table, the half-empty cup of tea beside it, a world away. Her face is a mask, carefully composed. Is she proud, terrified, numb? It's impossible to tell from this distance. You try to imagine what she sees. Does she see the faces in the crowd, or are they just a blur of color and sound? Each link of her chains, each plate of her gilded armor, is a story of conquest, of loss, of a life irrevocably changed. It's a small, human detail in the midst of this overwhelming display of power and ceremony. It reminds you that beneath the gold and the title, she is just a person. What really happens when the triumphal parade ends? When the roar of the crowd fades, the sun sets over Rome, and the torches flicker to life, painting long shadows across the marble. It was the expected price of defying the empire, a public spectacle, followed by a private demise. Think of Vercingetorix, the great Gallic chieftain. After being paraded through these same streets by Julius Caesar, he was unceremoniously strangled in the Tullianum prison. That was the grim, predictable end for Rome's enemies. But the tale of Zenobia, the warrior queen of Palmyra, is different. It refuses to follow the script. After she was displayed in Aurelian's magnificent triumph, bound in chains of gold, a living trophy of a conquered Eastern empire, everyone expected the worst for her. She was a woman who had dared to carve out her own empire from Rome's territory, who had styled her son as Augustus and herself as Augusta. They would have bet their last denarius that her life was forfeit the moment the parade ended. For many, the end was dark. But for Zenobia, the story takes a turn toward peace, a turn toward the quiet countryside. The accounts tell us she lived as a respected Roman matron. Why this uncharacteristic mercy from Aurelian? Some historians argue it was a calculated political move. Killing a woman, even a rival queen, might have been seen as dishonorable. Others suggest Aurelian admired her spirit and intelligence. The ancient writer Zosimus tells a story that she pleaded for her life, blaming her actions on the advice of her counselors, like the philosopher Longinus, who was executed in her stead. But the Augustan history paints a more stoic picture of a queen who bore her defeat with regal composure. Whatever the reason, Zenobia's final chapter is one of the most fascinating what-ifs of the ancient world. She didn't fade into obscurity or meet a violent end. Instead, she adapted, she transformed, she survived. The warrior queen who challenged the might of Rome became a Roman aristocrat. Her story, a quiet, enduring thread in the grand tapestry of the empire she once defied. It's a powerful reminder that history is rarely as simple as victory and defeat. Sometimes, the most incredible stories are found in the peaceful, unexpected epilogues.